You're listening to an episode of the Bible Talk Show, a production from Bernard Studios, where the truth never goes off the air.
Good evening, and welcome to the Bible Talk Show, where the truth never goes off air. I'm your host, Mr. Kingsley, and tonight, we've got a story that has everything. Suspense, drama, a larger-than-life villain, and a hero no one saw coming. Sounds like a blockbuster movie, right? Now, this isn't just a story about bravery. It's about courage that comes from faith, and how God uses the ordinary to do the extraordinary. But before we bring out tonight's guest, let's check in with Walter, our show intern, to find out where in the Bible this epic story takes place.
Thanks, Mr. Kingsley. We're turning back the clock to 1 Samuel chapter 17 in the Old Testament. The Israelites are at war with the Philistines, and things aren't looking good. The Philistines have a secret weapon, Goliath. This guy wasn't just tall, he was over 9 feet tall. His armor alone weighed more than most of us put together. For 40 days straight, Goliath came out morning and night, shouting challenges, daring Israel to send a man to fight him one-on-one. And every single time, the Israelite army froze, too scared to move, too terrified to answer back, until a young shepherd boy named David arrived on the scene. He's not a soldier, not even part of the army, just a shepherd boy running an errand to bring food to his brothers. But when David hears Goliath's insults and sees everyone else's fear, he steps up with unshakable faith. Back to you, Mr. Kingsley.
Thanks, Walter. Can you imagine it? A giant stomping around, taunting an entire army, and nobody moves a muscle. Then, out of nowhere, David shows up. No armor, no sword, no battle scars. Just 5 smooth stones, a sling, and the kind of faith that says, God's got this. And with one shot, boom, came down the giant. This isn't just a tale about bravery. It's about trusting God when the odds look impossible. And tonight, we get to hear the story straight from the source. Please welcome David. Hello, David. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Hello, Mr. Kingsley. Thank you for having me.
The pleasure's all ours. Now, David, let's get real. You were the youngest son, just a shepherd boy. Did you ever feel like you were too small or too ordinary to do big things?
Honestly, yes. There were times I felt quite overlooked. I was out in the fields most of the time, away from all the action. But in those quiet moments with the sheep, I learned to listen for God's voice. I realized He had a plan for me, even if no one else saw it.
Wow, that's powerful. David, be honest. When you stepped onto that battlefield, sling in hand, did your knees shake a little?
Of course they did. But my heart was steady because I knew God was with me.
Now, when you showed up and heard Goliath shouting, this giant mocking God's people, mocking God himself, what was running through your head?
At first, I was shocked. I couldn't believe that no one was stepping forward. But then, I felt a strong confidence that God was with me. That gave me the courage to say, I'll fight him.
Big talk from a shepherd boy, am I right, folks? But here's the part I love. You didn't grab a sword or shield. You picked up 5 smooth stones. Why 5? Were you worried one wouldn't be enough?
I wasn't worried. I was just wanting to be prepared. I didn't know how many it would take, but I trusted God's timing.
Smart thinking. Always pack a backup plan. Now, when you walked out there and Goliath laughed at you, called you small and weak, how did you keep your cool?
I remembered all the times God had helped me protect, my sheep, my flock from lions and bears, and if He gave me strength then, I knew He would give me the strength again. I wasn't fighting for me, I was fighting for God's honor.
And down goes Goliath. David, that stone hit true and the giant fell. What did that moment feel like?
Awe, relief, gratitude. I knew it wasn't me. It was only God's power. I just had to be willing.
Let's pause on that. Willingness. David didn't have the biggest muscles, the shiniest armor, or the loudest war cry. What he had was a willingness to trust God when everyone else ran scared. Now, David, let's fast forward. Kids today aren't fighting giants in armor, but they're facing fears, doubts, and pressures every single day. What advice would you give them?
I'd say this. Don't look at the size of your problem. Look at the size of your God. Giants may look scary, but with God's strength, you can stand strong.
That's some good preaching right there. Last question. When you think back on that moment, what do you hope people never forget?
That courage just doesn't come from us. It comes from trusting God. If you remember that, you'll never face your giants alone.
Thank you, David. What an honor to have you here tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Kingsley.
What an incredible conversation. David's story reminds us that courage is not about size or strength, it's about faith. Giants will come in all shapes and forms, but God's power will always be greater. So tonight, whatever your giant looks like, remember this. Faith is the sling, courage is the stone, and God is the one who brings the victory. I'm Mr. Kingsley, and this has been the Bible Talk Show. Thanks for joining us, and remember, the truth never goes off air. Good night, everyone.
This has been an episode of the Bible Talk Show, a production from Bernard Studios. This episode was written and directed by Abigail Bernard. Our vocal talent included Barrett Richards as Mr. Kingsley, Matthew Bull as Intern Walter, and Jason Kiefer as David. Tune in next week for another episode of the Bible Talk Show, where the truth never goes off the air.